Welcome back for Tempo Storm's newest deck introduction, surveying the aggressive and mid-range variants of the new Murloc Paladin archetype. In week 3 of Year of the Mammoth, things seem to be finally settling down in Ungoro Crater. Out of nowhere, an archetype that always seemed inconsistent appeared on the scene, Murloc Paladin. Within 24 hours, the archetype had dozens of iterations and rank 1 legend appearances on multiple servers. Aggro and mid-range Murloc Paladin stormed the ladder, going from entirely non-existent to occupying 2 spots of the tier 1 meta snapshot overnight. The first thing to realize about this archetype is that both variants of Murloc Paladin devote nearly half of the entire deck to 1 and 2 drop Murlocs. In the mid-range variant, 2 copies of all these guys are in the list. In the aggressive variant, adds on some additional early drops. With a dense set of cheap Murlocs, both archetypes can find early lethals. When piloting either list, game plan number 1 is to find early Murlocs in the mulligan, protect them with value trades and secrets from Hydrologist, and finish out the game with Murloc Warleader and Gentle Megasaur, or to fall back on a Divine Favor or Finge of the Flying Star to refill your hand or repopulate the board. If your opponent delays your proactive game plan, the other utility players in the list tag in. That strange ability to keep pace in longer games makes the decks extra resilient on the ladder. One strong mid-game plan involves hanging on to Steward of Darkshire to combo with the Tidehunter cards, with the hero power, especially if you've played Vilefin Inquisitor, or with the cards you might pull from Finge of the Flying Star. Protecting your tokens and Murlocs until you draw another finisher like Sunkeeper Terran or Gentle Megasaur is a consistent way to close out longer matchups. In the mid-range archetype, grinding out your opponent with value plays on board using Blessing of Kings, True Silver Champion, Consecration, Stampeding Kodo, and Spike Ridge Steed is the best way to epitomize the attrition battles the Paladin class has always excelled at. In both variants of Murloc Paladin, there are quite a few small and subtle situations where you can squeeze extra value out of your deck. Here's a few things to think about as you climb the ladder with this deck. First, you might find that Hydrologist serves as the ultimate MVP in a lot of games. Currently, there are only 5 secrets in Paladin: Noble Sacrifice, Redemption, Getaway Kodo, Repentance, and Eye for an Eye. While you could never afford to actually put one of these in your deck, the ability to find one you need in a Discover is really consistent. Typically, you'll be looking for Noble Sacrifice to protect something in the early game, or a Redemption or Getaway Kodo for extra value as you try to extend to a strong mid-game play. However, in select matchups and moments, Repentance and Eye for an Eye can be perfect. Against decks that can throw down large, face-protecting minions, anticipating a colossal taunt minion with Repentance can steal a win from your opponent. Against combo decks like Freeze Mage, Ice Block, and Board Freezes makes it a terribly unfavored matchup for this Paladin archetype, which has no heal and limited damage from hand. However, setting your mage opponent to 1 and playing Eye for an Eye gives the mage only one specific out, a defensive Alexstrasza, which is likely not to save them from the damage you're presenting in the first place. With Freeze Mage and Control Mage making frequent appearances on ladder, realize that finding your 2 Hydrologists for an Eye snag can be a direct counter to their game plan. Another important moment when piloting the deck comes in with the Gentle Megasaur adapt selection. Taking Wind Fury and +3 damage is always tempting, since pushing more face damage feels right. Sometimes, going for board resilience through Divine Shield, Poisonous, +3 health, and especially Living Spores can often be more overwhelming than some extra face damage. Realize that the synergy between Living Spores, Steward of Darkshire, and Sunkeeper Terran is really strong. Finally, don't forget to consider your sequencing before you drop Sunkeeper Terran. Oftentimes, making some value trades before you set all minions to 3/3s can be advantageous, and buffs from hand like Cold Light Seer will be negated by Terran, but onboard buffs like Murloc Warleader will stack with the Terran effect. The story of Murloc Paladin's landslide appearance on ladder indicates that innovative theory crafting in the Ungoro meta is probably far from over. Approaching nearly a full month out from the set's release, new iterations and new archetypes continue to surprise the ladder. As long as you're not running into a ton of greedy turn 2 hungry crab techs, either variant of Murloc Paladin is likely to be a strong and consistent deck to bring to the ladder in the weeks ahead. We hope you enjoyed this deck introduction. If you're interested in how this archetype is fitting in with the rest of the meta right now, don't forget to check out our most recent Tempo Storm meta snapshot. As always, please leave us a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and join the discussion in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to speed with all of Tempo Storm's news and Hearthstone content.